My friend was next to me. I was just hitting his leg. I was like,
Fuck, it worked.
it's also the work to as an actor.
Yeah.
Like I have to be able to know that, like
Yeah.
that work on that muscle.
For sure.
Because when I get a self tape,
Yeah.
one more. Let's do one more.
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
Yeah,
one
yeah,
more, and
yeah.
then
Best case scenario, great opportunity to meet them. You know, obviously, like you want to put all your work on that audition. You know, like
so like constantly, because
Oh, really?
each
Okay.
time is different. Like when I read the first time, when I read the script, it's like I'm getting to know the story. So I'm like, I want to be up on my feet. Like let's just explore something.
Let's
you
cut
know?
to the
Like,
chase. Let's just, like,
let's
yeah.
just dive into it. The scene partner, it depends on how they give it to me. It's
True.
just gonna
Acting
react.
is reacting, failing gloriously, right? So if you're gonna fail, might as well just fail to the end, right? So
Right, yeah.
yeah.
I constantly say the lines over and over, over and over, or
Love
like
it.
listen or like
Love it.
read it. Oh, yeah.
Music does help getting your energy where it needs to be for the scene,
Definitely.
which
yeah.
is
I mean,
kind of cool.
So
Interesting.
like it's
yeah.
kind of getting to know your body and your breath, and
Breathing is what helps you really get into that state.
Like
I
that.
like that. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I like
instead
that.
of I like that. You know,
like
like it's
that.
we don't have that
Fair.
because when Turkish people speak English, it's can like with the accent, it can be so sharp. Like impacted me so much that I know it impacts other people. It also changes generations of thoughts. It's just the timing and everything, and also universe. If it's time, it's gonna come. If it's not time, it's not gonna come.
What's up, guys? Welcome back with another episode of Breakthrough. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
yeah.
See, like we've done a lot of those. I actually forgot what day we are. But happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing good. Again, if this is your first time checking us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow us, to subscribe so you can always catch compelling episodes like this. All right, guys, so without further ado, I have one of my good friends today, someone I actually met in acting class, someone who's very talented, who's very amazing. I've watched them in person doing phenomenal work. Burak Atsan. How's it going, buddy?
Hi, I'm good.
Doing good?
Congratulations, by the way. This is really good.
Thank you. Honestly, it's such an honor to have you. Thank you so much for coming. It's a blessing to have you, honestly. I'm very grateful, honestly, for all the people that have been, coming on the pod and really just sharing their experience and stuff like that. So it's a blessing. So thanks for coming on. So as you may have watched from other my episodes, I kind of wish take us through your debut in acting. Like, how did you get started? And were you doing something before? I know you said that you lived in LA in California for a bit. So just take us through the whole journey before coming here to Canada.
Oh, it's so interesting. I started acting, but I was before acting. I think I was always a performer.
Nice.
Because when I was a kid, I always involved to activities in school, different things on stage, and I loved it so much. And even when I went back home after school, I was in front of the mirror, dancing, doing these kind of things. I loved it.
Yeah.
And
Love it.
I left home super young, and I went to high school. But I started acting when I was going to high school. On the weekends, I started taking classes, acting classes, and I loved it because we did lots of improv, and then everything was coming in the moment, and something happened that
So
it
that
was
that was back in
Turkey.
Okay, so we're talking while in Turkey.
So I was 14 years old back then. And then I loved it. I loved everything about it, the expression of it. And then after that, I finished high school. I moved to California, Santa Barbara. I studied theater there.
Nice.
And then after that, I came here. I went to VFS.
Yeah. Was there a big community in Santa Barbara? Would you say there was a lot of people there, or was it just very?
The film community is not super big, but the school I went to, the film production
Company?
it was really big. All the students, they were doing a lot of good work, and they were putting a lot of work into it. So I got involved with them, and then we were constantly shooting something, doing short films, commercials, this and that. It was really professional. That was the time I really got to know American style filming, how they treat each other in the industry.
Yeah.
Even though it was a student project, but it was a good community in there. So that's how I got involved. But it's big. It's not as big as I lived in Santa Barbara, so it was a little far from LA.
Yeah.
Not super far, but it was fun. Yeah.
Nice.
It was really nice.
Love it.
I had my good experiences there.
Do you still have I'm guessing you probably made some good connections as well, like down there that you.
Yeah, I did a short film with someone,
Yeah.
and she was directing it, and she was doing the cinematography and
Right
everything.
on. Yeah.
And now she's really
Just killing it.
she's doing good. I'm happy for her. Yeah.
Good for her. Well,
So
shout outs to her.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So why did you come to Canada? Like, why did you move to Vancouver? Why didn't you, like, for example, like kept going in the US and maybe like go to LA like a lot of people do? Like, why did you
Yeah,
consider?
well, I'm Turkish, so it was when I went to school in California, I
Mm-hmm.
had to stay there and do everything for the paperwork and stuff, and I didn't know how long that was gonna take.
Right.
So that made me to move to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved here, I saw the industry, how big it is,
Mm-hmm.
and the film community, actors, so many dancers
Yeah.
becoming actors,
Yeah.
artists, and stuff. So that's why I moved here and I studied acting, and I didn't want to leave because the doors were slowly opening for me,
Mm-hmm.
which was great.
Yeah.
And I meet a lot of people right now,
For sure.
like in the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. And you said that you started at VFS before we actually like met in
Yeah,
Dubs, you and I, you know?
when I moved here, I started going to VFS. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a 1 year intense training,
Mm-hmm.
and then because I didn't have that training in Santa Barbara, we were
Yeah.
only working on like theater, backstage,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But VFS had really good program that it's you work with emotions and understand the character, understanding yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you just basically 9 to 5 every day. So it
Right.
was like a big training to
Sick.
help me to understand what acting means to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't. First of all, it was always just like, oh, I like this. I like this. I really enjoy doing it
Yeah.
because I am present.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started to learn more and more and more technical things,
Yeah.
I started to get into my head instead of being present. But it's slowly
Something we all
changing
do.
right now.
Yeah.
Slowly, it's changing right now. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, taking all these classes with different teachers, different techniques.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really good. It's
Love
been
it.
really
Love it.
eye opening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how far, like, I guess, like, how far into acting like did you start training with that before you
Well, after I finished VFS, I didn't do anything for a year, and then I
Mm-hmm.
started working at a studio. I did Meisner with
Mm-hmm.
a coach. It 1.5 year, and
Yeah.
it was a different training for me.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I worked with another coach. She was teaching Lee Strasberg, so method. That
Yeah.
was a different training.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started working with Deb,
Mm-hmm.
which has been, I think, 2 years,
2 years.
2 years.
Did you go like right into the scene study class, or did you do like the
No, I
other?
did first. I did the fundamentals, I think.
Okay, so the online one.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, we did the same as well. It's kind
yeah,
of how I got started with her,
yeah,
and then she gave me a spot in her audition class. So that was cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which has been really good.
Oh
Yeah,
no, she's
like I
amazing.
met you. I met a lot of people,
Yeah,
good,
yeah, we've
good
had a lot
actors.
of other folks from Debs on the pod, so
Yeah,
it's been cool. Yeah, she's obviously like very very knowledgeable and a great coach overall. So
yeah.
good for her. Cool. And so, did you like when did you start like looking for an agent, like
Mm.
in the mix of all of this? Did you do like a bunch of training, or like when did you feel like comfortable like getting an agent and start auditioning and going out for like professional work?
Well, as soon as I finished VFS,
Hmm.
I was looking for an agent, but I have an accent. So I have an
Yeah,
accent, and it's a
it's
hard.
not too bad now though. Like it's very subtle.
Thank you, but I still do have an
Yeah, no,
accent.
of
So
course. Like we, yeah,
it's as an international person, if you wanna
yeah,
do something big here,
hmm,
I think you have to work on
yeah.
the standard American accent
I
that you
agree.
need to
It's
do,
hard not to.
which has been hard for me because it's not my
Mother tongue.
skill
Yeah,
to do that. Even though I've been working on it.
yeah.
So I looked for an agent for so long, but I was like, okay, I don't want to give up this because I love it. That's why I
So do
moved
you feel
here.
like the accent thing was holding you back from getting an agent? Like, were you getting like
Of course,
some
because like
people
I was getting lots of rejections. It's
because
like
of it? Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, not everybody's saying to me what the reason was, but
But
I
you
knew
you
that was
knew,
the reason.
yeah. You sense it, yeah.
And then when I was working with my first coach, she did a scene study but for agents. So like you work on a scene for 3 months, and then you have a showcase for 3 days, and then they bring agents to see your work. And then I was like, okay, this is my chance. This is my chance that I can do this. I know, because I know I love, and I love doing it, and I think it's different than submitting a reel versus someone comes sees you live.
Yeah.
So that's how I got my agent. So
Yeah.
she came, and then I
Nice.
did the showcase, and then we went for drinks, and then I started talking to her, and then she's just like, yeah,
Come on. Yeah.
come on. I was like,
Come on board.
when she said it, I was playing so cool. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And then my friend was next to me. I was just hitting his leg. I was like,
It worked.
I got it.
You
Because
got-
it's a big thing. It's
It
a
is.
big. It was a big thing for me.
Oh no. I mean,
and
it
it
is a big
still
thing.
is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's still this thing. If you have an accent, it's just like a no. Well, it depends on the
Very.
agent and everything.
It's very unfortunate because like we live in a world where, you know, when you look at the, you know, like the United States and Canada, like it's full of people who have accents. No one actually just like speaks like full on American. I mean, although a lot of people do, but like you also have a lot of immigrants who speak English, but like it's so like I feel like this is the industry where like it's very stereotypical where if you have an accent in the slightest, they will just not give you a chance, which is crazy, but this is the reality of things, right?
True. I like the part of it. If the story needs an American, like you need to have it.
Yeah.
You need to speak
Yeah.
standard American. I get it. It's totally because it's what the story needs. But if you change the story, if you tell more stories, like people like me coming to different countries and then have an accent, and we have more opportunities to act in those stories or tell stories. But now it's just kind of like I'm talking to a couple of friends.
Yeah.
They speak English perfectly, even though they're not born here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they ask, oh, can you do, let's say, Korean, like speak English but with Korean accent, and they're like, oh, your accent is not enough. It's like, she's like, I am Korean, like I know my language, and I can speak English with Korean accent. She's like, no, it's like so complicated thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like ins
It's
and outs. Yeah,
different. Yeah,
that's funny.
unless you do your own thing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, accents are cool. You know, obviously, like you want to be able to use them when it calls for it, when it's right for the character.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the work to, as an actor, you have to,
Yeah,
like I have to be able to know that, like
Yeah.
that work on that muscle
for sure. Yeah,
to when to switch, how to switch. It's
Yeah.
just like you got to put the work into it. I've been putting the work into it, but
Yeah.
it's just still, it's there.
I-
It's there for me.
no, yeah, like I'm not gonna pretend like it's not there. It is, but it's very subtle. Like I've met a lot of people who have accents, and a lot of them have, you know, like have theirs more pronounced than others. But yours is actually not bad. Like if I like were to compare it to the, like, you know, relative to the majority of like people who have an accent, I think you're doing good. Now that being said, I feel like it's also like nearly impossible to completely get rid of an accent. Even though I grew up in Montreal and like I speak English, like, you know, I feel like there's always like a bit of like an accent that I can't seem to get rid of either. But at the end of the day, like I feel like if you're close enough to the American, I think it's fine. But you know,
I say it's fine. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll
don't
see. I
know.
mean-
I'm still in it. I'm still
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
my thing, but
yeah.
it's just
so speaking of that, like, are you training with like a dialect coach? Like, how are you like
on
working
and
out?
off, on and off.
Nice.
I'm like training on and off, but I haven't booked anything for so long now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm constantly training, like acting, training, but at the same time,
Do you feel like it's the accent that's holding you back from that?
possibly, like for me, I think not be able to book, yes.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the main thing, that
Right.
it's just there's an accent. Like I did an audition a month ago. They were looking for a Turkish actor
Mm-hmm.
speaking English with a Turkish accent,
Yeah, so that was good.
and
Yeah.
in English as well, and then
Yeah.
speaking the Turkish
Did
one.
you
So
speak like this, or like did you?
I did
What-
not do anything. I spoke like this.
Yeah.
So, but I've been trying so hard to get rid of my accent that
Yeah.
when I try to speak English with Turkish accent, I have to watch Turkish people speak
Because you
English.
forgot it. Yeah.
Because I don't have Turkish so it's like Turkish around that much right now here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's that thick accent gone.
Yeah,
It's still there, but it's not that thick. So when I got the audition, I'm like, okay, I have to book this. I
yeah.
have to book this
This
because
is my
like
time.
this is
Yeah,
my I'm Turkish. I know how to speak Turkish. I know how to speak English,
yeah,
and I've been training for this for so long, but
yeah. This
I
is my
haven't
moment.
heard anything. And
Yeah,
I'm like, okay. So that made me a little bit questions, but I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna let this go. I'm not gonna put
yeah,
anything in it." But
yeah,
it was just so interesting because
yeah,
I'm sure the director was like,
yeah,
this guy doesn't have enough Turkish accent, I
yeah,
believe,
yeah.
because
Well, I mean,
it's
I'll tell you, a piece of some, some food for thoughts. But um, when I started like acting professionally back in 2019, I wasn't like I was getting auditions, but I wasn't booking anything, and
Mhm.
that I didn't book until 2022, I would say. So it did take me like 3 years, and I started like back in 2018, like when I started like training. So it does take some time for a casting director to know you. Again, I'm not saying it's not. It could be the accent. I'm not saying it's not. This is something that you should always be working on and perfecting, and trying to sound as American as possible. But that being said, I wouldn't like just completely say like, hey, like this is all. It's all my accent and disregard the other stuff because you're a good actor. Like I've seen you act. Like you're good. You're you're
thank you.
you're you're
I
killing it.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't think the acting is a problem. Now, what it could be is just that sometimes it's just a timing thing. It does take some time for casting director to know you. Now, I'm not sure. Did you move here before or after COVID?
Before,
Okay,
but I got my agent, I think, during COVID. Yeah,
during COVID. Okay,
2020 maybe.
so
Yeah.
you right. So you didn't have the luxury of actually going in the room and meeting the casting directors, did you?
I've never had that before.
So
Like I
yeah,
haven't that experience. So that's the other thing too.
yeah.
Uh,
So
Self tapes are I am not good at. I can because when I get a
mhm,
self tape,
yeah,
one more. Let's do one more.
yeah,
Let's do one more.
yeah,
One
yeah,
more. And
yeah,
then my friend is just like, bro, okay, I think we got it. I'm like, no, we didn't get it. Wait, I need to do one more, one more. But now I'm better. It's like one or two take.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
giving myself and I'm gonna let it go.
yeah, yeah,
But as you said, haven't had an experience to go into the room,
yeah.
meet the directors, and then just give me a feedback in the moment. I'll do it. Like I can work with directors. Like I know that I have that in me that I can work.
Yeah.
But
That's good.
as you
Yeah.
said, I haven't had that experience. So
Yeah. So, yeah, the reason why I was saying that it's also again, this could actually factor into why this happened. Um, I was lucky enough to starting audition. I started auditioning back in 2019, so like a year before COVID, and I was fortunate enough to, I would say, like meet at least all the casting director in person once, at least once, all of them. So I think they know who I am for the
mhm,
like for the majority, for the most part. Now that being said, I think I think the first question you should be like probably like asking yourself is, do you feel like casting director know you? Because it doesn't matter how many times your agent sends you. If casting direct, because like the thing is like casting directors are always like taking a chance on someone they don't know when they pitch it to the producers and the showrunners, right? So when they take a chance, right, they got to see something. They got to know. They want to have an idea of like what this actor is capable of, right? So what I'm trying to say is that if you feel, again, I can, only you know that, but if you feel like the casting directors don't know you, or maybe they do, but they can't like remember you, like because you haven't had the opportunity to leave your mark. I think casting director workshops is kind of where
mhm.
um, that would be good. Because I feel like it would literally give you the opportunity to just meet them.
All right.
You get the directions. Because like I don't think we're gonna go back in the audition room anytime soon. I'll be honest. Like I'm speaking to a lot of actors. I had this conversation with my agent. Like it feels like this is just the new way of auditioning. Like it seems like self tape is just. It's funny because like it took a pandemic for them to realize like self tape is just the way to go. But I honestly don't see us going back to in person auditioning anytime soon. That being said, like callbacks are always like I would say it's 50-50. A lot of them are done in person. Some others are done over self tape, but this could actually be the thing you need to go to the next level. I think casting director. If you ask me, I think
Mhm.
casting director workshops would be good because when you think about it, okay, what do you have to get out of a casting director workshop? Worst case scenario, they know you, you know them better, you get better directions, and you strengthen the connection with the casting director. Best case scenario, they don't know you. Great opportunity to meet them. Obviously, like, you want to put all your work on that audition. Like, leave a very good, leave on a very good note. Make sure to take the notes really well as well. So when you leave, like, they're gonna remember you. I feel that's what I would do if I was in your position. If I didn't meet the casting directors in person, that's what I would do. Now, obviously, you think you decide for what you think is best, but
No, definitely. Like, because as you said, I listen lots of podcasts, like interviews and stuff. All the casting directors say that, okay, this is
yeah,
the other thing, like this is really good for them because it's easy to watch everyone on their laptop or wherever they are.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's like you just know them through the self tape. You don't know them in person, the actors, right? So get to know them. That's definitely something that's better to get to know a casting director, to go take their workshops, which is a lot here, which I haven't done it yet. Something I've been thinking about it, but I haven't taken an action to do it.
yeah. That's fair. And again, like, just, you want to take your time and
Yeah.
do this at your own pace. There's no rush, but I wouldn't, like, kind of just, like, all put it on the accent. It could be, but again, like, don't, like, underestimate, like, the other. I think you're a great actor, so it could be a lot of things. It could be the looks, it could be the vibe. So again, you don't know, and I think you could probably, like, try to ask your agent for feedback from the casting director. I don't think it's wrong to ask, honestly. Be like, hey, listen, do you think there's any way I could get some feedback on this Turkish audition I had? Like, I mean, I don't care if I get it or not. I just want to get some feedback. What do you think wasn't working, or that they wish they had done better or something? It's always constructive, because, like, very often, like, we're not gonna hear anything, so
Yeah.
might as well try, right? So
Yeah. True.
yeah,
Definitely. Definitely.
cool. So I wanna just, like, shift gears for I want to talk about the acting process a little bit. So obviously, like, a lot of people have different ways of, like, tackling the script, the scene, and I've seen people, like, diving into the script in the beginning, doing very minimal script work. I've seen a lot of people do, like, a lot of script work before even, like, start memorizing, before even, like, start looking at the lines. Where do you think you are, kind of, like, with in relation to the scene and the script? Like, how much of, like, what do you do? What's your process, and how do you prepare for a role, whether that's for a scene study, whether that's for an audition, for a booking? What do you do?
I think it's different for each time, like different for everything. But let's say for scene study, when I get the scene, I read the scene first. Some people don't like to read the scene first. I'm gonna read the play. I
Yeah,
like to see
I feel like it is needed. Yeah,
yeah, I just need, because I'm so craving, okay, what do I have to work with right
yeah,
now? So I look at the scene, and then as soon as I read the scene, I read the script. But I read the script like a couple times, maybe 5 times or so, like constantly, because
Oh, really?
each
Okay.
time is different. Like when I read the first time, when I read the script, it's like I'm getting to know the story, who these people are. And then once I know who I am, and then the second I'm reading, okay, who am I in this script? Like, what is this person? How old is he? What does he do? What does he like? What kind of smell he likes? Like all those things. And then third time, when I mean, again, it's not always in order, but these are something I'm looking for every time when I read. Each time something is different each time when I read it. And then the third time, usually, what other characters are telling about my character, how do they see this character, like
Yeah.
how do they look, or did he say something to these people to say this? And then that starts with it. Once I have those, and then I always write why.
I
It's always the
love
thing,
that.
why,
I always do
why.
that as well.
It's
There's always, like, why. Like, you can always go further with the whys. But I think sometimes, I don't know if it happens with you, but I think we can all relate to this, where I'm seeing a line and I can't understand why the character is saying this line. And if you can't understand why he's saying it, then you obviously can't play it,
right, yeah,
right? So so you either have to convince yourself, you have to give yourself a reason as to why this character would say this, or do some research and figure something out. But
I
I
think
agree.
definitely that also comes with a choice of
Mm-hmm.
like me, how I'm gonna say that, because of I'm saying this line because of this person or this situation.
Yeah.
Something happened because of my imagination, how I perceive the script or the story, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is. But and then once that's done, I learn the lines without any emotion or meaning. It's just like I have an app that I
Just
put it,
yeah.
just say the lines, other characters. I just learn without anything because like you
Nice.
don't
So
know.
you use an app to memorize the lines. You don't use
Yeah,
like an actual person
no,
to.
no, no. I have an app that I just like when
Interesting.
I'm
Okay.
driving or when I'm doing something, it just like constantly.
So how does the app work? Like it reads the lines for the other person?
So you record other person's lines and
Yeah.
then your line, other person's line, your line. It's just like an entire scene. Once you finish it, there is like a practice part of it. So the other character says their lines and then there's a pause, you say your line, and then the other character says their line, you say your line. Or if you want to listen the entire thing and then you just listen the entire thing. That's how it works a little bit. I tried different apps, but the one I'm using is so nice. It's called Actors Lines.
Actor lines. Okay.
Yeah, it's like for commercial, there's like different categories that you can put, and then
Cool.
different categories is like you can put the name, the picture, the
Yeah.
characters. It's interesting. It can be for multiple characters, so it's really
Wow.
helpful.
Good to know.
And then after that, I love rehearsals.
Yeah.
Like I really need to rehearse a lot of time with my scene partner, and that's the magic happens. Like I don't like some people that I work with is like, let's just read the lines, let's rehearse like this. I'm like, I want to be up on my feet. Like let's just explore something,
Let's cut to the
like
chase. Let's just like
let's
yeah.
just dive into it. But sometimes I'm coming with an idea. Okay, let's do this before we read. So
Yeah.
it always change. It all
Right.
depends on
It depends.
the
Yeah.
person, depends on me. But something I learned that if I memorize a line with already prepped with the emotion and intention, it just locks in me because locks in my body, how I'm holding my body when I say that line. It's so hard to unlock for me. It's I have to at least to just like monotone, just say the lines
Yeah.
when you're up on the feet, because if I know the story, if I know the situation, when I'm up there, everything is gonna be there anyways. I don't need to work
think.
on it because
Yeah.
I worked on that, I prepped on it. But
Yeah.
and then once I'm rehearsing it, sometimes I don't even know what is happening when I say, oh, I didn't even think this was gonna happen, this how I was gonna say, but the scene partner, it depends on how they give it to me. It's
True.
just gonna
Acting is reacting. Yeah.
in a different way, which is the beautiful part. That's why I love Deb's class so much, because there are beautiful actors in there that
Yeah.
just
Everybody's so talented in Depth's class.
Yeah,
Everybody's so
and
good. So it
it's
drives you to get better.
passion, like so much passion in there. And some actors are like, I worked with a couple of them. It's like so much fun to work with because there's no expectation to it. We both know the story. It's always exploring more and more, like why and why. And then sometimes Deb says something when we are doing the scene. It's like, oh, right, like something we didn't think about. And it's like the let's work on that one. Like I worked with Emma Graffam. And
I love Emma.
it
She's
was
so
so
good.
that scene we rehearsed like crazy. It was so much fun. It's
I
always
think
like
I was in when you guys worked. Which scene was it again? You gotta
I don't
remind me.
remember the name of the play, but it was a
Just remind me
comedy. It
the
was a hotel, like hotel scene.
yeah.
She's my girlfriend or wife,
Okay.
and then she's planning to like, and she's dating someone,
Yeah.
and then she was planning to kill me.
Oh yeah,
with
with the gun scene.
the gun scene.
Oh
Yeah,
my
the gun
god, I
scene, the
saw
gun
that.
scene.
Yes.
It was
So
so much fun.
good.
But something
So
is just
good.
like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
when like
Yeah.
which what I learned in that scene, we worked so hard and we had so much fun. But in the last week,
I
it's like,
was
okay, what can we do more?
I
Or like,
know.
what can, and then I just brought more thing that
That you
it
didn't
didn't make
see.
sense for
Yeah.
the scene,
Yeah.
and it just didn't work. It just, but it's okay. It's just like you just try.
Again, look, it's just it's fine. Like I mean, like sometimes I get these very similar notes where like sometimes we're in class to try things. Okay, if you want to if you want to experiment, if you want to try, class is the place to do that. You know what I mean? I guess you can try that on set as well, but also you got to keep it within the constraint of the story. I guess in class you can afford to go big, go small, try things, even if it doesn't make sense. It's just like this concept of like failing gloriously, right? So if you're gonna fail, might as well just fail to the end, right? So
Right, yeah.
so again, like it happened before where like, you know, like I had like a very good third week with Deb, and the fourth week I'm like, you know what, like I had a good third week. Let me just try something different. And it didn't work out. You know, it's like, oh, you know what, I like the third week better. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I mean, You know, like it's fine. I tried something different. I just want to take a shot at something. At least you know moving forward what actually like works and what not, what doesn't work, right? So you can always like use that. But I only saw the scene once. I wasn't lucky enough to because I think we were like on opposite times. You and I, you and Emma when was doing it.
Probably,
I
yeah.
think I only got the scene. I only got to see the scene. I can't remember if it was week 1 or week 2. I only saw it once. So I didn't see the final product,
Right.
but it was already like amazing the first time I saw it. So I mean, yeah.
It
So
was, yeah, it
good
was
stuff,
fun. I
man.
mean,
That was good.
it's one of the examples. There are a couple of them too. Like there was
Yeah,
one scene I did with Justin.
yeah.
It was great. It was like a drama and like
The bloody one.
the bloody one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was like some people are so
Yeah.
open to explore, which I love so
Yeah, no,
much.
I mean
It's like
Justin's a good
let's
actor
try
as well.
this. Let's try this because like it helps me like it's because
Yeah.
it's a connection thing. We work with the partner, right? If
Yeah.
you got to be open. It's not easy sometimes, but you got to be open to explore different things. Let's try this. Let's
Yeah.
look into my eyes, or like let's stand up. Don't look at each other. Just tell me the line from the other room. I don't know how I'm gonna like those different things constantly.
Yeah.
It brings more connection to it, I find, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
different
just
choices. You know,
yeah.
it'll prompt a different reaction. See what happens. If it feels natural, if it feels good, you bring it up to class. If it doesn't, then you try something else, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. This is good. So just to go back to the original question, I guess. So you read the script 5, 6 times. You really like make sure that you submerge yourself into the script. You know, it's basically in your DNA at this point. You've built yourself a backstory for, I guess, for the characters. Do you like? So when do you start like tackling? I guess if you do it, I don't know if you do it in your head, if you put it on paper, but like, do you do like, okay, what's my goal in the scene? These are my tactics. These are the obstacles in the scene. This is my main goal, but my main objective, blah blah. Do you put that on paper, or you kind of just like put it in your head and you let this drive the scene?
That's interesting you ask that. I usually depends, but I almost depends on the scene, but I
Yeah.
almost don't write anything on the paper.
Okay,
It's usually
that's fair. Yeah.
even when I'm memorizing my lines on my own, I am like I always walk around when I say the
Yeah.
lines,
Yeah.
and every time when I say something, I'm like, oh, I say this because of this because that happened. That's like something just stays with me,
Yeah.
and when I say that line, it stays there. Or like again, it's when I'm rehearsing it, something comes differently in a different way because when I read it first, I don't write it. Oh, this is my intention. This is my goal because
Yeah.
I mentally I know,
Yeah.
but in my body maybe that's not it. It's just like
Yeah.
visually I see it,
Yeah.
but when I do it, it's not gonna be. So before I get to that point,
Yeah.
I constantly say the lines over and over, or
Love
like
it.
listen or
Love
like
it.
read it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I use depends on the script. I have like a playlist that I use sometimes. It gives the mood a little bit for me.
I like that.
Even though it changes
Yeah.
some
I
stuff,
like
but
that.
it helps me
Sometimes
a lot.
I've actually learned this on internet. Someone says it where depending on what's happening in the scene, if you're losing someone, you know, obviously it's about sadness, about loss and all that stuff. Sometimes there's always like, you know, not lyrics, like songs you can put on that would match, I guess, the energy. Like, you know, if you listen to a very sad song and that, you know, that song reminds you of like someone that you lost, because that's going to help you with the scene, because that's basically what's happening in the scene. Or sometimes, you know, like maybe you're going through, I don't know, like you won a tournament or you won a prize and you're super happy, you're ecstatic or whatever, you know, putting a joyful music, something very hyped and something very upbeat or whatever, you know, like it does. Yeah, I do believe like, you know, like music does help getting your energy where it needs to be for the scene,
Definitely,
which
yeah.
is
I mean,
kind of cool.
I've been using that for years now. It's like
Yeah,
it's something. It's been so helpful.
it's really good. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's good. But sometimes it's like it doesn't work sometimes. So like I
Yeah.
was working on one scene. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this playlist. I'm listening and listening, but like I'm so stuck the idea of like, oh, this song is gonna bring me emotion instead of really trusting that it's in my body, that I don't need to listen it, but I just need to know the situation and just breathe into it when I'm on the stage or like when I am be present, that it's like I know that it's there instead of pushing it or forcing it. Sometimes it's not there, sometimes it doesn't happen, but like
Look, I mean, it's
knowing the
a very hard thing. This is something that we constantly need to work on. Obviously emotions and, you know, being in the scene and feeling it out and, you know, breathing into the thing. Again, like everyone has their different process, their different ways for which like it works for them. But I feel like again, I'm kind of like in the same kind of like ballpark as you, where what works for me once might not work for me twice. You know, like I would like use a song, it would get me there for the scene, but I'm doing another scene, I would use the same song because I feel like I'm experiencing something different. I'm sorry, I'm experiencing something similar. But it's just not. It's just like, yeah. Sometimes I guess like you exhaust the song or something. You know, if you want to put it that way.
Exactly.
You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
can relate to that. Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like what really like what works for me at least, like it's just like really voicing out what I'm saying. Sometimes if I'm like taping with a friend, I'm like, hey, listen, like this scene is about loss. I'm losing someone. I'm losing my best friend. I'm losing my mom. I'm losing my dad. I would like talk out. I would like, talk it out with the person that I'm taping with or whatever who's helping me. Like, hey, like, do you mind if I just like talk a little bit? You know, all you have to do is just listen. You don't have to do anything. And I would talk, and it would get me emotional because something very personal to me, and I would like keep that energy, start the scene, and just trust that it's gonna be there when I start. Because obviously, you don't want to be thinking about crying when you need to be crying, because that's gonna take you out of it, right? You're not. You should be reacting off of what's been given to you, and if it makes you cry, then it makes you cry. But you should not be like, hey, let me, I'm gonna cry on the third line. Okay, like let's lead up into it. You know, like
Yeah, but I also like that's something like you said. It's interesting because I was
yeah,
talking to my roommate last night about like
yeah,
crying part of it. You know, like sometimes I used to use substitution a lot.
yeah.
Now it doesn't work for me because
Hmm.
like when I use substitution, I'm not in the scene. I'm not present. I'm thinking about someone, either like
Yep.
or like try to find that in my scene partner.
Fair,
Sometimes it works, but mostly substitution is not working for
fair,
me. It's
fair.
like I did this workshop with someone like Kennedy Brown. Like
Oh,
he
I love
teaches
Kennedy.
how to connect with your body, where the emotion sits in the body.
Hmm.
So as you said, like we thinking instead of thinking about crying, sometimes like I know that if I put my hand to one a certain my body and I breathe into it, it comes right away, instantly. So like
Interesting.
it's
Yeah.
kind of getting to know your body and your breath, and because like while we are growing up, like we store emotions in certain
Areas.
places, areas in our body. You have to learn. I had to learn. I'm still learning about that, but it's
Hmm.
like instead of thinking about it and
Hmm.
knowing it, even though like it was sometimes breath too, like
Yeah.
slowing the breath
Yeah.
brings the tears sometimes, you
Yeah.
know. That's a
It's a
challenging
lot in the
sometimes,
breath.
but
Yep.
it's always like a breath is always, or like before like angry scene, you're doing something, it's just like prepping, it's
Yeah.
just like the constant fast breathing and then just like letting it go. It's just like it's there, like it's
Hmm.
there, the anger and everything. It's everyone is different, the techniques is different,
Yeah.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't,
I agree.
you know.
Yeah. No. I mean, I had one of the acting coach that I trained with, Jill Morrison. So shout out to her. Hopefully, we'll have her sometime on the pod. But yeah, she also told me the same thing, where breathing is what helps you really get into that state of mind. It's on the breath. If you are aware of like where you're breathing from and all that good stuff, um, your emotion should
Definitely.
be there for you. So yeah, I totally agree. Cool. I want to shift gears to okay. So you obviously are from Turkey, and so for anyone out there who's trying to learn a Turkish accent, do you want to like give us some
Turkish
pointers?
Turkish
I
accent.
know, like just like I know I'm kind of like just putting you on the spot, and but
Whoa, I
if if someone's trying to learn a Turkish accent, what is a good starting point? Are there some things, some vowel changes they should be like looking for? How would someone go about like doing a Turkish accent, and like a decent one, bookable one?
good one. um well, we Turkish is an interesting language because we don't have like English. When you say T and
Hmm.
H,
Yeah,
that sound,
yeah. The or the
the
or the, yeah,
or the or the, like
yeah,
we don't have that in
in
our
Turkish,
palate. In Turkish we don't do the.
right?
It's like D, or like
So
you
it's a
don't
D.
D, like D.
Interesting, interesting.
I'm going to the shop, or D, like you don't say
Right?
the
Yeah,
shop or like
yeah.
the shop, like
I
the.
like that. Yeah,
I like that.
I
Yeah,
like
instead of
that.
I like that, you
I
know, like
like
it's
that.
we don't have that. So like
Right.
it's a muscle, as I said, like the tongue, how the
Hmm.
tongue moves.
Right. So
Like the
THRDs. Okay.
yeah. So
Cool.
like if if you want to say it just like that,
That.
I want that.
I want that.
Exactly,
I
because
want
like
that.
it's so taka taka, like the
Yeah.
Turkish is like tak 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 tak.
Uh-huh.
English is a little bit like more mellow. Depends on what kind of like English
Yeah.
accent you want to do,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course. But like standard American is like more like laid back, mellow, like
Mm-hmm.
chill. But you still need to hit the right pronunciation.
Yeah.
But as I said, like when you're saying, I want to go to the market, like
To the market.
yeah, it's like tak 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 tak, or you have to push T M K, or like again,
Let's go to the
I
market.
want, we don't have I want, like we don't have that. Like when you say want, usually feels like
Want.
you
Yeah.
like
Want.
we sound well,
Yeah.
English like well. We don't have that. We don't have W.
Right.
It's just like want. It's just like one V
Want.
basically.
Okay.
That's
So
how you say it.
you don't stretch
No,
the
we don't.
W, the sound, right?
Again, I'm
I
just
want. I want.
talking from my
Right.
experience. I'm not I don't know. I'm just talking from my experience, but
Right.
that's what how
Yeah.
we speak
Right.
English,
Got
when
it.
Turkish because
Fair.
when Turkish people speak English,
Mm-hmm.
it's can, like with the accent, it can be so sharp, I
Yeah.
want to
When
yeah.
Turkish people learn English, do they learn like, I guess, like, do people like learn is like English like a second language in Turkey?
Yes,
Okay.
before I left, I don't know how it is right now, but before I left,
Cool.
they teach British English.
Okay. I was gonna do
Depends
that.
on the school you go to,
So
but
they teach British
mostly
English.
British English.
Right.
It might change right now. It might have changed right now, but I went to a couple different schools, and if you go to private school, it's different than going to public school.
Okay.
So private schools are more focused on, depends on the private school, but standard American, because things are changing. America is like USA is like
Huge
big
influence.
on everything, but usually mainly it's like British. So when I started learning, it's like I can't do it like that. It's like
can't,
you
Yeah.
start
That British way of saying it.
yeah, British way of saying it.
I
Now
can't. I can't.
it's interesting process.
It
Sometimes
is.
like when I serve like cast guests and I hear people speaking English to me with an accent, I'm like, oh, you're Turkish. In my head I'm like, you're Turkish, and then I pass by, they speaking Turkish. I'm like, oh, I know. Like I can know Turkish people through their accent now. Yeah.
Nice. Love that. What is your dream here? Like, are you like trying to like where are you heading? Do you feel like you're looking into becoming a Hollywood starred actor? Like what's the end goal for you here?
Well, right now my dream, my goal is to be fully be in my in the moment in my life, be present,
Yep.
and as I walk on this earth, I just want to acknowledge every single thing what's going on around me without suffering,
Yeah.
and take it all in, have the human experience.
Yeah.
Dream in general is like I want to be in peace. That's my goal, whatever it is, because I've been chasing acting for so long. I don't want to chasing. I love acting, but slowly it started to become more like
A burden?
I cannot do anything without acting, like either acting or something else.
Yeah.
So right now I'm slowly finding different things while acting is there, and learn about myself so I can put that into acting. So my dream is just basically, I'm actually going back to school in September. That's my plan. I become a therapist.
Oh, sick.
So
Nice.
that's something also I've been always
Right
wanting to
on.
do it. Like
Yeah.
if acting is something, but I want to, because it's always like I like human connections. I love emotions and stuff. That's something, my calling, I guess, right now. But on the other sense, I just want to be able to tell good stories.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
wherever it's gonna reach to, because stories change people's mind
It
and
does.
emotions. It's not about budget this,
Yeah.
but my thing is like I want to be able to get into
Yeah.
the room or like on a set to tell a story, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like I accepted the fact that right now financially I won't be able to support myself through my art, but I'm trying
mean,
to
it does
find
take time
another
together, yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I accepted that I'm okay with it. But now it's just any different art platform that I can do. Like right now, I'm dancing is giving me so much joy,
Nice.
like or
Nice.
painting or even singing on my own. It's like my own thing.
Yeah.
Even like trying different expressions for myself, like outfit or like anything. The different finding different platforms to express myself.
Mhm.
But dream is always, for me, it always comes back to it. It's like I want to be able to tell the stories, because
Mhm.
when I am acting, I'm
Mhm.
putting everything what I have into it, and that's
Mhm.
the most I am alive. I feel
Mhm.
more present. Now I'm like trying to get into my own life. You know,
Mhm.
when I'm living here,
Mhm.
I want to be fully present before I die, basically. So that's something I'm trying to challenge, instead of, oh, acting is the only thing that I'm present. Oh no, now like I can do other things, other
Mhm.
expressions.
Mhm.
But it's always, as I said, comes to that, because stories like impacted me so much
Mhm.
that I know it impacts other people. It also changes generations of thoughts, emotions. You know,
Mhm.
when in scene study classes, when I watch someone fully like, everyone is authentic, but like some, watching some people is so mesmerizing, and I'm like, whoa, you're there, I can feel it, and I know these stories are real and true. Like in Turkey, I've seen these stories,
Mhm.
like these are real, and the way you're telling the story, I
Mhm.
can relate to it, and it just like touches something in me. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just beautiful to witness that. It's
Mhm.
like going to depths class. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a free ticket to place, you know, like some beautiful
Right. Yeah. I feel like you
acting
should
there,
be
and
paying to like watch
stories
these
too.
scene studies.
Exactly. So
I mean, you kind of
to
paying me
answer
already,
the
right?
question, my
Yeah.
big dream is to be able to, in acting part of it, to be able to tell beautiful stories that
Mhm.
it's gonna change something in people's mind, you know,
Yeah.
or like ideas, or like,
Fair.
oh, I've never thought about this.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Okay. Or
Mhm.
even like lifting the judgment out of it from
Yeah.
someone. Oh, this guy is actually, like, you watch a movie, you're like, bad person, bad person,
Mhm.
bad person,
Mhm. Mhm.
but and then the actor shows something
Mhm.
about that character, you're like, oh, actually you're also human too, you have flaws, you have this, I love you, you're
Mhm.
not a bad person,
Mhm.
you know, those guys, it's not black or white too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something I've been working on for over the years now, but now it's like
Yeah.
like while I'm
It's coming
aging,
to
it's like
fruition.
more like, okay,
Yeah.
more like in my undertone, in my skin, something I'm practicing every day
Yeah. Love it.
to,
Amazing. This is really good. That
yeah.
was a great answer. Actually, I like it.
Thank you.
That's usually different than what I usually hear on other with other guests.
Mm,
So that's kind of cool. So
yeah.
I guess like if we were like maybe just like boil it down to like just acting, um, would you be fine with any role you get, or do you have something you want to get more than anything? Maybe you want to like be a lead on a show. Do you want to like do you have like a role in particular that you're looking forward more than, or you just take anything that comes your way?
Well, two answers to this question.
Yeah.
First thing is gonna be, I, whatever I can get, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind.
Right.
Whatever I'll do, I
Yeah.
do it.
It's
But
art. Yeah.
the second thing, it's just like, okay, if I get a character that it's like it's not in my values,
Hmm.
I don't want to do it. But do I have the
Okay.
privilege to
Hmm.
like refuse that? So it's kind of like always
Yeah.
like this, where I am at in the industry, or
Hmm.
like, do I have a right to say no, or like, am I
Yeah.
being truthful to myself if I say no to this?
Yeah.
But obviously, I would love to have a lead in a show, or like a
That'd be great.
movie in a show, like,
Yeah.
lead, or just like a something that is
You'll
that.
get
But
there. Yeah. As long as you can see
it's
it, you'll get there.
just, it's just the timing and everything, and also universe. If it's time, it's gonna come. If it's not time, it's not gonna come.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's talking to
It's
the
gonna be in the
universe where
cards.
it is,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of, oh, black or white, I want this.
Yeah.
If this doesn't happen, and that's it. No, it's just
Hmm.
the timing comes everything, because once I think we learn how to talk to the universe,
Hmm.
you see the fruits of it, and then you start eating it. It's just, you,
Hmm.
I think it's really like dancing with the moment and the universe, and then you started to take everything, like,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
booking a gig unexpectedly, or like
Yeah.
getting a call from someone unexpectedly. It's just like
Yeah.
you thought about it, but you let it go, and then suddenly, whoa, okay, I
Hmm.
got this. Okay, it's interesting, or like you thought about something an hour ago, and then just suddenly in front of you just comes,
Yeah.
name. So,
Love it.
but s- yeah, I would love to be in a show. Of course, as an actor, everyone wants it, I guess. Yeah.
Manifestation, man. You get there. You get there. I
Yeah.
feel like you know, we just gotta keep going at it, and things will come together at some point,
Yeah,
hopefully, right? So,
definitely.
but again, you gotta also be doing it. You gotta be doing it for the love of it, for the sake of loving it,
Definitely.
right?
That's
Because
it's
if you're like doing this because I want to get famous, I want to get that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Some people like wants to do this. They want to
mhm.
get famous. They want to go to Hollywood, which is cool. Like this aspirations. But I feel like there should also be like somewhat of a deeper reason as to, what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the interesting thing, if someone wants to become a famous, they can become a famous because
There's
it
other
that's
ways. There's
it's
easier. There's easier
something,
ways to
if
get there.
exact if something that's a one's want, like if they want to become a famous, there's different, especially right now with social media and stuff,
Mhm.
you can do different things.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, find a different way to do it, but
Mhm.
I don't know what the intention is. Be famous, be known, that's a different thing. There's
Mhm.
underneath why that's happening, but at the same time deep,
Mhm.
why do I want to do this
Yeah.
deep down? Because once the person famous come, like if they become a famous, things
Mhm.
can spiral in a different way because
Mhm.
that's just the only thing. But deep down, if you know, I
Yeah.
think if I know what I
Yeah.
really want to do this,
Mhm.
it's just still protecting that honesty and authenticity
Yeah.
in that intention. I think
Yeah.
that's the important.
I
It's
agree.
not easy,
Yeah.
I think, but it's work in progress always
Always.
because things
Always.
are always changing,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, they always are. They always are. Nothing is ever set
we
in
are
stone.
changing too. And
We're
that's
changing.
right.
The industry's changing. Everything's changing.
Yeah.
Um,
So.
has it ever occurred where you were in a position, whether that's like in scene study or like in an audition or some sort of setting, where you had to do a role and you weren't sure if you can do this? Maybe this is something that was new to you that you didn't know how to tackle. You didn't know if you had it in you. Like was making
Mhm.
you uncomfortable. It was requiring something that you've never done. Like yeah, like have you ever been in this position where you almost like were like you almost wanted to bail? I don't know, maybe or
Yeah, a couple times. A lot of times. Yeah, a couple times. Like I'm better at it again, not judging it and just like really finding what that is inside of me and then
Yeah,
just doing it instead of playing the idea because it's fake when I play the idea. But
yeah.
I had one when I was in school. I don't remember the Fool for Love. That was the name of the play, and
Mhm,
we were doing a scene from that play, and
mhm,
this cowboy is like coming into a motel, and then his girlfriend is scared of him, and they're having
mhm,
an argument and stuff.
mhm,
And this cowboy is like masculine and just, you
mhm,
know,
mhm.
like a cowboy. And
Yeah,
for me, I was like, it's not in me. Like I am
I
a
ain't a
gay
cowboy.
guy from Turkey, like feminine masculinity. I don't know
I
where
didn't
it
grow up in
is,
Texas. I didn't.
why they gave me this role, but I was like, okay, like this is like I don't want
It's
to be.
very ironic that you're saying that, considering you're wearing somewhat of a cowboy hat. But
Well, it was years ago. Now my things are
I've
my
embraced the
mask.
cowboy.
Everything is different now.
Okay,
But it's like s-
I love
finding that like I learned because my
it.
teacher was trying so hard on the spot, just
Yeah,
scream that, just do this and stuff. It's just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
it doesn't feel real. It's not happening. And
yeah.
I was like, okay, like I'm this. I always want. I'm always gonna play a one type of character, and that's
Mhm,
gonna happen. But slowly getting to know myself
mhm,
in like in life
mhm,
and finding that like masculinity, where does masculinity sits
mhm,
in me, when the masculinity comes
mhm,
in my daily life, because like it's always like there in humans, like we
mhm,
have all parts of everything. So that was a really real challenge for me,
mhm.
and it didn't go well,
Right.
but
But
and
at least you did it, right? So
and
that's
I
all that
did it,
matters. Yeah,
exactly, I
you
did it.
tried, right?
But
It's the intention.
that I learned that it's like
Mm,
instead of playing the idea of this, finding that in me,
yeah.
because as I said, like we always have like every human has a thought of killing someone, kissing
Mm,
someone, doing all, but it's just like a thought.
it's a
It's not
thought.
that you're
Yeah.
who you're that is.
Hmm.
So me putting the idea of like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this, but no, it's just a thought. It's also
Hmm.
in me too. Like
Hmm.
we all have those energies, like finding that
Hmm.
through the circumstances and
Hmm.
what this person is going through, and understanding that and bringing myself, soul, and my body into it.
Hmm.
And one of the scenes I did in Debs was with Molly. It was in like a hotel. This drunk guy,
Yeah.
like, so like believe he was like a famous actor, but like
Right. You're some hot shit.
sexy, hot, and I'm like, I'm none of like I don't see myself that like, oh, I'm sexy, I'm hot, like I'm just like this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and like I'm drunk, like
Right.
everything, and I it was a hard time for me to like
What
judging
was that
it
recent? What was that?
it was last year,
Last year,
maybe a
okay.
year and ago, half ago.
Cool.
It was like a year ago, maybe year, I don't remember. It was like some time.
Mm.
But it was a challenge for me, but I had to let go of the judgment of,
Mm.
oh, I'm none of these.
Right.
You know, like I'm not. That's also
what
in
did Deb
me.
say?
I didn't verbalize it. This
Oh,
like
okay.
in class,
Right.
you know the class how
Kept it
the
for
class
yourself.
works. It's
Yeah.
just like you just keep it. It's not more like, oh, let's get into personal things. It's not like that,
Yeah.
right? So there was not space to express this. Maybe
Right.
I could have,
But sometimes Deb
for
does step
me,
in, right? Like
sometimes, yeah,
where she says like,
sometimes.
Barack, what are you doing? I want you to get real and like you know you're
Exactly.
hot. Blah blah blah. Sometimes she does that, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
but probably it didn't reflect outside. Like nobody thought about that what I was going through, but that's internally what I was going through. That thinking about like, oh, I'm none of these. Like even the finding a costume, like I need to cover part of my body this because I don't feel comfortable. But like
Yeah.
learning to accepting myself that, oh, it's also me. Like it's also me. Like it's not. But also when I'm playing a character, it's people say, oh, it's not me, it's a character, but it's also me too because I am putting myself. But sometimes something happens that you don't feel like that's you. It just something takes over on the stage, and then you become that. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that was that character, but it's coming from me again.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge, but I learned. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's way better to. It's coming from self-judgment to like low esteem, self-esteem, you know, like I'm better at it. So when something happens like that, the first instant the thought goes like, oh, this is not me. Like this is not how it's just like me. But it's
Yeah.
not about me at the same
It's not
time.
about you.
But
Yeah.
it just comes to mind.
It's
It was
ain't
just
about
like
us. Yeah.
thinking, okay, that's the thought. You can linger there. I'm gonna let it go. But it's also how am I gonna find this in me because it's in front of me. I have to do this. There's no way around. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do
Yeah.
this.
No, you're stuck
I
with
cannot
this.
because if I try to
Yeah.
escape it, it
It's
just
also not
doesn't
fair for
feel
Molly.
right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Like it's not. But again, it was a great scene. We had so much fun. Like it was fun. But now that I'm thinking about it, if I had that scene again,
Yeah.
it would have like it would be different.
Different.
Like I would
Yeah.
play that differently right now because
Interesting.
I'm different person
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure to tell Deb to give it to you again so we can see that.
Sure. No, there are some other scenes that I want to redo it again, but
Oh, that's
yeah.
funny. Cool. So how do you this is something we all struggle with. I'm sure you do. I definitely do sometimes as well. How do you get out of your head during a scene where you're so connected, you're not anticipating, you're not thinking of your cue, you're not thinking of the emotions? What do you think works for you to get out of your head where you're literally just locked in? You know what I mean?
Well, what I have like different things, but one of the things that is always just like
Yeah.
if my mind comes to how I'm doing, how I'm gonna say what I'm saying, it's just if it's about me,
Yeah.
it's like just look at the other person.
Yeah.
Just breathe
Breathe
because
and look at them.
that thinking is giving anxiety and my breathing changes. Just like looking at the other person, just listen. Literally just listen. Even though, oh, I know that in this line, this person's supposed to cry. Like my character's supposed to cry. And I'm thinking about it. Oh, it's coming. It's just like just literally just looking into the person, whatever. And when you're present and you really believe into it, at least when I believe into it, the response just affects me. But that's always that like if sometimes like if I'm so spiraling, literally I just need to like without showing this I like because I don't want anyone
Taking
to
a
do
breath,
this. It's like
yeah.
just for me to just like it's okay.
Yeah.
Just like come and then look or like focusing on somewhat or focusing on what I'm doing.
The
You know, like
business, yeah.
in the like a prop. Like prop is a good thing to I think for me it's just like instead of sitting and delivering the line, it's just like doing something. We're because as a human, we constantly do some things, and then if I'm doing something, just like touching, and that sensation gives me the I'm here. It's just like I'm not in my head. Different things in different circumstances, but mostly it's just like I'm not alone. I'm with someone. Like I'm with someone. It's just like I'm looking into the eye to someone, not even the shoes, but just like something else, just the eye. But it's not always works, of course. Like if I'm super in the head, but I
I
love
like this.
depth
I
class.
like this a lot, actually. Just like looking at the other person's eyes and really locking in there. That's good.
Yeah,
It's always a good place to look at.
that's something that I learned in the Meisner. Actually, it's a technique. It's like you
If you're ever lost, just look at the eyes.
it just like focus on the other person. That's the phrase, like focus on the other person. But for me, it's just like focusing on everything, just like eyes,
Yep.
what they're doing, and everything on them.
Yeah, looking at them, listening, taking in what they're saying.
Because like then you like I don't think about myself, so I don't know what is happening to me. Just like whatever that person is doing is affecting me, however is affecting me. It's that. But again, also prep is so important for me too. Like I love depth class because like before you're scene, you're just outside prepping. And that's the beautiful thing, because some people like without doing that. Okay, you guys are up. As soon as that scene is done, you just go and prep everything without. I mean, start your scene without taking a moment to prep for your scene.
Yeah.
But in depth, like we are prepping our scene before we show, like so that's the important. Like I do a lot of different exercises in that room, because I cannot do just like I cannot switch it off and on. I'm learning, like emotions too. Like some people in our class.
No,
like,
I mean, I don't think anybody
like,
can. It's
boom,
just
boom.
it's a skill by itself to be able to just like
It's a practice too. It's like a muscle again.
muscle,
So
yeah.
like if like you gotta practice like in the daily. I'm taking this always to the daily life, because I think that's the best way to practice most of the things. Like like when you're anxious, when you're doing something, or like when I'm doing something but thinking about something else, I'm not present. I'm like all over the place. When I'm eating something but I'm watching something, I'm not even tasting the food I'm eating. It's just I'm eating the sake of eating, but I'm not even tasting what that food tastes like. I don't know how much I chew. I don't know how fast I'm eating. I don't know if I'm enjoying the food. The same thing. There's a focusing on one thing while you're doing it. It's like a practice, daily practice, I think. But again, it's not easy. It's like years of
it takes practice, man.
As you
it
said,
takes
like
practice.
acting is so interesting that I don't think people can master in a day. It's like
Oh, hell no.
it's a humanity. It's like a human experience in different stories. It's like all body, mind, and soul, spirituality, and the stories and experiences. And I think one has to go through life or empathy. If like if someone in your life didn't die and you have to do a scene, I think we have to have empathy of what if my parents die? How would I feel? The imagination.
Yep.
Because it's affects. It's all imagination. Yeah, but that's what I try to do.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, the great Burak Atsan, everybody. So that wraps up our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us again, man. That was such an honor to have you to come on the pod. Share with us your experience and all. Hope you had fun.
No, thank you.
That was I had a blast.
This is my first time doing this kind of thing. It
good.
was really fun. Thank you.
Hope it's not the last. Hope we'll have you some other time soon in the future. But again, thank you guys for joining, for listening. Again, we'll see you guys in the next one. And yes, peace.